it's author, musician, singer Al Cole from a CBS radio background, now host of the syndicated talk show People of Distinction, celebrity interviews giving high-level public figures the chance to talk about their very special human feelings too. Because celebrities are human beings, people, and we are all people of distinction. And when given the chance, we will all speak openly about the very reason for our birth, the energy and dedication of what we call love. Hey, I'm also the author of the exciting new book, The Spirit of Romance. Hey, at last a book that defines romance as the loving relationship that we all enter into with life itself. Whoa there, men-women relationships in the backdrop of beautiful universal energy too. Happy to say that my book, The Spirit of Romance, is now available on Amazon and Kindle, and I'd like to thank all of my Al Cole-holics who have bought it and also benefited from it too. That's The Spirit of Romance by Al Cole, now available on Amazon and Kindle. Thousands and thousands of women, guys too, listen to my talk shows, People of Distinction, every week, and they contact me with their questions, reflections, and comments at alcoholic@gmail.com. You heard me right there. That's ALCOLEHOLIC@gmail.com. So without any further ado, hey, we get into it.
Hey, it's syndicated radio talk show host, author, singer Al Cole, welcoming you to another edition of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. I come from CBS Radio. My shows are nationally syndicated, and I've helped pave the way to treating women, guys too, with the dignity that they deserve with my new book, The Spirit of Romance. Oh, now, look, let's investigate this thing. When I talk about romance, of course, I'm talking about a different emphasis on romance. The loving relationship that we all enter into with life itself. Whoa, hey, what an emphasis. Hey, Al, I like that. Well, guess what? We all love that. Because whether we want to have a loving relationship with life or not, we are going to have a loving relationship with life. And what we have to do in order to spark that relationship, in order to know that relationship, feel that relationship, and help that relationship grow and be edified, is every once in a while, let's take some alone time, people. Now, the seat of the consciousness is us. Let's talk deep here. We have a certain vantage point of sight, a certain vantage point of mind, a certain vantage point of feeling. And we can visit that anytime that we want to. And sometimes the hustle and bustle of the outside world, hey, let's get away from that a little bit. Now, we're not running away. We're running into who we really are. We're recharging those batteries. We're getting to know ourselves the way that we were created to get to know ourselves. It's like coming out of that womb again and saying, wow, I'm here. I made it. I'm alive. When we feel that way, that the greatest blessing of all is to be alive at all. Just to be here. Yeah, it's a miracle. It takes a talent to be born, people. And if we hail that talent all through our consciousness periodically and we say, I am so blessed just to be here. Now, what can I do for other people who are blessed to be here? How can we spread the love? How can I get that message out of blessing to all mankind, all womankind, all of our human family? When we start thinking that way, now we know the reason for our birth. The reason for our birth is not only to find love within our lives, but to elevate that love, to energize that love. And once we energize it, just like any other energy, it's transmittable through space and time. We can positively affect other lives, sometimes without even saying a word. Whoa. Now that is a gift. That's what I mean by romance, people. Coming from CBS Radio, I've been blessed with a lot of great romantic relationships. All right. And these relationships are with published national publicists and book publishers and agents. They give me about 80% of my guests. And they say, yeah, we love what you're doing there. How about interviewing this client of ours, this client of ours? And so as a result, I actually do about maybe 5 interviews per week. It's really astounding. And we talk about professional people, putting the emphasis where it belongs, how their professional achievements help to elevate our human family. And with that brand, we've become very, very popular. And being popular, we've been invited into some of the popular networks around. And one of them is the network that airs a lot of CBS radio shows. It's called the iTunes Radio Network. Everybody knows iTunes. Well, the iTunes Radio Network is exclusive territory. It airs under News Talk. It airs a lot of CBS shows, shows from the BBC, shows from Canada through the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, and also public broadcasting shows. And I am blessed to be among them with my People of Distinction show. But it doesn't end there. Because of the popularity, well, I've developed my own radio network called the People of Distinction Radio Network, which features other like-minded talk show hosts who air their shows on my network. And one of them is a good friend of mine, and she's an actress. Her name is Dee Wallace. The actress Dee Wallace is the actress who starred in one of the biggest films ever, Steven Spielberg's E.T., the Extraterrestrial. Dee, as you recall, played the mother in that film. Got the starring bill. She's always out there doing new film. She's always in there every week on my radio network with one of her great offerings to talk radio. It's called Conscious Creation, and it airs every week on my Al Cole People of Distinction Radio Network via the iTunes Radio Network and the Live 365 Radio Network. And I'll tell you, it gets all around the country, around the world, and I feel great about that. And listeners get out some of the edification that they really need about our human family. If you like it, I want you to email me. If you have a show of your own that you want to get on the air, maybe I can help you that way. If you need some communications training, hey, I'm good for that too. Email me at alcoholic@gmail.com. You heard me right. That's ALCOLEHOLIC@gmail.com. And, I really want to thank my CBS radio listeners for dubbing themselves alcoholics. It seemed like from day one, my listeners were saying, "Hey, Al, we love what you're doing there, brother." In fact, we're hooked on it. We're alcoholics. I love that. Thank you, my CBS radio listeners, for developing that handle. And I'm also a published author with Chicken Soup for the Soul. Chicken Soup for the Soul is distributed by Simon & Schuster, a CBS affiliate, so we keep it in the family that way. Coming up, you're going to love this guy. He is somebody that was introduced to me recently. Stellar resume from here to China. You're going to love it. In fact, I should say, more aptly, from here to India. His name is Frank Islam. Frank is such a great guy. Now, I'm going to run down a few of his accomplishments here, and then he can fill in a lot more with what he's doing. Frank established his information technology company called QSS Group in 1994, and I should say, preceding that, he came to this country from India with only, he says, only $10 in his pocket, $10. Whoa! And he was able to launch an empire. QSS Group in 1994. He was the only employee. A few years later, wow, 2,000 employees and sales of $300 million. Now, then he sold it in 2007. So you do the math there. It's not a long time that he had his QSS Group, and he lifted it to that stature. Now, that's the kind of guy Frank is. At the same time, he does so many things that are in the philanthropy area, the arts area, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that too. He's currently the CEO of FI Investment Group, and it's a private investment holding company that he established in 2007 after he sold his informational technology firm, the QSS Group. He's authored 2 books. All right, so now we're going from the business world into, you could say, the artistic world, writing books. It's not easy to do, but he has authored 2 great books, Working the Pivot Points to Make America Work Again, and also Renewing the American Dream, a citizen's guide for restoring our competitive advantage. We're going to get into that. He also blogs for the Huffington Post. And get this, people. He was appointed by President Obama to the Board of Trustees of the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. Now, another dimension is coming out. Hey, the arts. Get that. Writing books. He's into the performing arts and a guiding force that way. And, of course, a technological force and business force in our world. And you know what? He is a humble, very, very humble man. He's a guy, when I first met him, we were like friends, and we were having this homey conversation. He's the kind of guy who is exemplary at talking about the human family. From India, very intelligent country. And they have a list of accomplishments that go back thousands and thousands of years. So the heritage is great that way. And we're even going to ask Frank a little bit about his particular family heritage when he was brought up in India. But the main emphasis of this show is going to be throwing the spotlight on the greatest family of all, our human family. Whoa. And everybody's listening to this show right now has to agree with that. We're all part of a human family. And being part of a human family, we throw the love that we have in our individual families out there, and we magnify that to the shining star of our human family. And we can do that anytime we please. And I want you to run to this website and learn more about the greatness of Frank Islam. Go to frankislam.com. That's www.frankislam.com. Welcome, Frank, to People of Distinction with Al Cole. Really a pleasure to have you on today. How are you, Frank?
Thank you very much, Al, for your time, and thank you for interviewing me, and thank you for that fine introduction. I should have you everywhere for my introduction.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Frank. Let's start it where it really did start. Back in India, when you were a kid and growing up over there, tell us, in a minute or so, a little bit about the background, the roots, and some of the things that you experienced before you even got to this country. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was born in a very humble family, so I have not forgotten my roots, where I came from. So it was a small town that I was born, not too far from New Delhi. I would say about 2.5 hours. And I grew up with the people who have the different religious background and faith. So my parents taught me to be the best you can be, to express your fullest potential. And when you're fortunate enough to have the opportunity to succeed, give the opportunity to others to succeed. And also they told me to be tolerant. And the most important, they told me to give dignity and respect to others, even if they belong to a different faith. So I came here when I was very young, at the age of 15, to the United States. And the way it occurred, it was a professor that went from University of Colorado Boulder to India, and it's a small city called Aligarh, which is not too far from New Delhi. And that's where my parents somehow met this fellow, and he sort of embraced me. And he said, would you like to go to Colorado to come? I said, I have nothing else to lose. My parents said, go take him. So here I am, crossed the Atlantic Ocean to realize the American dream. So I came here at the age of 15 with no family, $15 in my pocket, and in a very different world. But this world, America, I call it, John Winthrop said in 1632, as a shining city upon a hill.
What a lovely rundown there, Frank. And, we're going to make that the pivotal step into this interview. Humble roots, and going from that, maintaining humility as one also accomplishes. Now, that's really the key. As you accomplish things, and tell us a little bit about the accomplishments, but before you tell us about the accomplishments, as you were accomplishing step by step the QSS group, and you saw, hey, I was the only employee, but now I've got another employer. And how did you feel when every step seemed to be working along that line? How do you incorporate that glory into your being at that time?
Good. So when I came here at the age of 15 to pursue the American dream, at that young age, I was not quite sure how I would achieve that dream. But I know even that I would like to be a business owner. For those of you in the audience who have followed a similar path, I know you recognize this is a daunting challenge, but it was an opportunity. And the opportunity that I saw to define myself America and the land of opportunity. So after I worked for a couple of companies, after I graduated from University of Colorado, when I got the bachelor's degree and master's degree, and you asked me a question about QSS. So I purchased a company for $45,000, and that's a QSS. So within 13 years, as you said in my introduction, along with my management team, I was able to grow that company from one employee, as you said, to more than 2,000 employees and approximately $300 million. So as all of you in the audience who are on your own journey understand and appreciate, my journey was not a straight line. It was not always easy, and the final destination was not certain. So we didn't have enough money in the bank to buy QSS, so my wife and I had to refinance our home to get the $45,000 that I need for the purchase. So after we bought the company, I have to work on my home. I have to be my wife's insurance because we didn't have health insurance. During those early years, it was a dark and desperate phase of my life, and we have to deal with many, many issues such as how do you get the bank loan? How you be able to make the payroll? There were some 24-hour days and many sleepless nights. Nevertheless, I always believe in America, an American dream. I always believe that I should be able to take a risk, venture into the new horizon, experiment new environment, and I know I will succeed. But my team of talented managers, the senior manager was central to everything. So success in a business is a team sport. So when I sold my company, as you said in my introduction, in 2007 to Ross Perot, and that provided me the opportunity to have the financial independence to establish a private foundation that supports educational and cultural and artistic causes in the United States around the world. I firmly believe, as President John F. Kennedy once said, to whom much is given, much is expected. So this is why I'm focusing today on sharing and giving back. In many ways, the process of sharing and giving back is as and even more rewarding than any of the money that I earned throughout my business career. I would say this. Let me say, my story can only happen in America. It is America's inclusiveness and openness that provided me the opportunity to succeed. These are the strengths and the qualities of America that all of us can proudly and truly embrace. I have been and continue to be a recipient of America's kindness and generosity. And that's why I'm a philanthropist. That's why I focus on education. That's why I focus on reading, writing blogs, and also giving back and making the United States a better place, and so that everyone else can be inspired by my story, and they can also achieve the American dream. So talk about my accomplishments, as you mentioned. So as I mentioned earlier, the growing my business was an accomplishment. But as with most accomplishment, it was not mine alone. It was a team effort. Success in business is a team sport. I believe that many people, as they become successful, forget that part. I also believe that life is a journey, not a destination. Then each of us define ourselves by what we do throughout the journey. There are accomplishments and setbacks along the way, and they are part of the process of being and becoming. As such, they all matters that point to me. So that's my nutshell in terms of my journey from India, from humble beginning to purchasing QSS Group, and also selling it for several $100 million, getting the financial independence, to create the foundations and giving back to our country, and being involved in education, artistic, and so many other causes.
Isn't that wonderful? That is, what a great rundown, Frank, and that's sparking me to make a little reflection here right from the get-go. What Frank is talking about, I'm going to put it my way. Business and money-making can be considered to be, in one sense, love among strangers. And I'll tell you what I mean. When we put a business together, and especially with Frank, he was the only employee. After that, we look for other people, like-minded people, to join us. Maybe a business partner, maybe an accountant here, maybe somebody there. And then we have employees. And as we're growing and we see how the other people that we brought into our business now have a lot of the same inspiration that we brought into our business with, they become friends of ours. We look upon them as, hey, thank you. We have gratitude, people, and we thank them for the great work that they're doing for our business, our baby, and it becomes everybody's business, everybody's baby within that.
You said it very well.
As we're doing that, now we're thinking, I'm no longer strangers with these people. They're coming over, maybe breaking bread together. We invite them over to the house, meet the wife,
Right.
And at that point, we have a togetherness. We have real feeling for each other. And then the product gets out there, exemplary product, and people, our customers, are saying, I love your product. Your product is helping me in so many ways. I love your product. Now, love gets into the measurement in so many different ways. What started out as a love among strangers now becomes just love. We're no longer strangers. We are people helping people. And now we have formed that synergy, that mini encapsulation of the human family within the larger scope of the human family. Am I on the right track there, Frank?
Yes, you are absolutely on the right track. So your point is well taken, that you hire the people who share with the vision and values, and the team of the talented managers and the employees, they made the difference what I am today. So when I give to philanthropy, as a matter of fact, I'm doing an investment, I'm returning back that favor they have given to me when I was struggling. Said it very well.
Hey, and people, we got a lot more to say here in this great edition of People of Distinction. Special guest Frank Islam on People of Distinction with Al Cole. I want you to run to this website and check out all of the greatness that is Frank Islam at his namesake, of course, frankislam.com. That's www.frankislam.com. Let's go from the QSS Group to FI Investment Group that you established after you sold QSS. Tell us a little bit about what the FI Investment Group is all about, Frank.
Okay, so after I gained a financial independence, I felt I was ready to get into the new venture, or I was ready for the next part of my journey. So the foundation was the key to that success, so that because now this is the time for me to get to the next part of my journey, that means giving back and also sharing with other people, laying the firm foundation, as I was told, as I was inspired by my own parents. So the FI Investment Group was an investment group that catered to the small and medium-sized enterprises. Those who cannot have access to the capital. Since I came from a small business background, a small business engine that drives the economy of this nation, I felt very strongly that it is my responsibility now to, by giving back, means to help the small business to prosper, to grow their business, and also so that they can have access to the capital. And that's what the FI Investment Group does, is to invest into small, medium, enterprise enterprises, which is called SMEs, to so that they can have access to the capital, so they can grow. We get involved in the process also to help them, to mentor them, to nurture them, so that they could be one day Frank Islam. So one of my thoughts has always been and continues to be, my legacy will be how many Frank Islam I have created before I'm gone from this planet of Earth. As you know, we have a very short time on this planet of Earth.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that something? That is such a great direction here that you have paved for other people. Now, the people who come under the umbrella of FI Investment, I'm assuming that they're not just in the Montgomery County, Maryland, Washington, D.C. area. They're from all over the country. Am I correct?
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
And how do you pick out some of these people?
Well, the criteria of picking out the people is somebody that I share my values and my vision, shares my passion and my commitment to the SME, small business and medium-sized enterprises. Obviously, we are in a business, so it is my desire to make sure we have a people who that we deal with and the companies that we invest in, so that we can, so if we make a investment, so we can get a good return on my investment. And these people have experience and the knowledge and the skills to go look after the company that needs the capital, that needs to grow. And we, in some cases, take the equity in the company rather than by giving them the cash because they probably don't have the money to give me in terms of the loan. So that's how we do that. We have a very stringent criteria for us to invest in the companies, and we want to make sure we invest in a company that is going to grow, that's going to prosper, that's going to also be involved and engaged in social causes and be part of the community.
Exactly. And companies that are going to help to make America work again.
And America, to make them, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yes. And that's what we're going to be talking about now, too. You have authored two great books, Frank. One, Working the Pivot Points to Make America Work Again. Let's focus on that one, then we'll get to the other one, Renewing the American Dream. What are some of the pivot points here to make America work again, Frank?
Sure. So I've written two books, as you said, Renewing the American Dream and Working the Pivot Points. And I wrote them because I was disappointed at what I saw going on in the political arena and in the private sector. I felt it was my right and responsibility as a citizen to speak out. A nation is no better than a citizen. In fact, citizens of the nation, whether it is a farmer, a factory worker, an entrepreneur, a teacher, immigrant, a politician, we all citizens. How we assemble ourselves, what we accomplish defines the fabric, the psyche, and the soul of the country. So recently there have been a lot of complaints regarding politics, politicians, and government. Some of the criticism is warranted. On the other hand, we must remember the United States is a representative democracy. At the end of the day, we as citizens get the politicians, the government we deserve. Correct?
Yep.
As President John F. Kennedy once said, I may have to paraphrase it, as a citizen of this democracy, you're the ruler and the ruled, the lawgivers and the law-abiding, the beginning and the end. In a democracy, every citizen, regardless of his interest in politics or holds the office, every one of us is in a position of responsibility. The kind of government we get depends on how we fulfill those responsibilities. Very well said, as President Kennedy said. So I want to write a book that allows the citizens to be interested, to be informed, to be independent, to be engaged. So the pivot point, as you wanted to know in terms of the pivot point in America that we need to move America forward are several. Important thing is the small business and which is the engine that drives the economy, the entrepreneurs, the manufacturing. Manufacturing used to be 32% of our GDP back in 1980s during the Reagan era. Now it is close to 22%. So we need to reignite the manufacturing sector. And the most important thing, we need to make sure that we can build the middle class. And also, there's a lot of income inequality and injustice in America that we make sure that we can close that gap. That means we need to train the workforce and make sure that we have a good we can provide the students are also the people who has to be retrained in terms of education, and that means the community colleges is to play an important role. And then we talk about education, and then we talk about the most important topic of these days is the dysfunctional Congress. The Congress is totally dysfunctional. It's very unfortunate the way that things are going in Washington in terms of the Congress is not working together across the aisle to work for America's agenda. What we're really doing is building this country for the selected few, the people who contribute so much money to the political system, the lobbyists, the Koch brothers, the people who go on and on. And this is not how the American should be. That's not how American democracy should be. American democracy, we should be all fully an active participant in terms of the in terms of engaging the politician as well as electing the politicians who can speak on our behalf. So those are the pivot points that we talked about in our book.
And they are making so much sense to me and my listeners right now that it seems like a natural unfolding here of the other book, Renewing the American Dream, A Citizen's Guide for Restoring Our Competitive Advantage. It seems like now you are drawing in the citizens of the U.S. to be a synergy here in elevating the standards of the country of the United States of America. As we draw citizens in for their input, as we draw citizens in for their inspiration,
yes,
and their directional visibility here, there are mechanisms by which we draw them in. It's not easy to just draw in masses, millions and millions and millions of people without some sort of organizational structure. What are some of the organizational structures by which we can engage citizens to help guide our competitive advantage as well, Frank?
Well, it goes back to the basic things, to creating a 21st century workforce.
Mm-hmm.
Workforce. So that means we need to educate children, our children, and especially K through 12 and after K-12 educations, the science, technology, engineering, math, which we call them STEM. We need to make sure instill in them that this is a very important. This is what is going to take America to that next height. And I firmly believe that America is very competitive. We have the best workforce in the world. We can compete in the marketplace if we are given the fair opportunity to compete. And so those are the things we need to get in. We need to be involved to make sure we can create the 21st century workforce in terms of education, and we may need to make sure that people who are involved in the other skills, which those skills are those manufacturing skills that have gone to the overseas, we cannot bring them back. The steel industry is a good example. We need to retrain and retool that workforce also so they become a productive part of society. So, but in order for us to do that, we need to make sure we can have the education, especially the community colleges, which is not everybody can go to the higher education, to make sure we can make it free. In addition to that, we want to make sure that Congress puts a lot of emphasis on education and also make sure that they provide a lot of financial assistance to the students so that they can complete their educations. In addition to that, as you know, the students are drowned in debt. I mean, it's impossible, and we don't have the enough financial assistance for them to go to school. And I believe that we need to have public and private partnership in terms of providing a financial assistance to the students so that we can create the next generation of leaders, entrepreneurs, and innovators. America has always been and continues to be a place where what I consider the entrepreneurs are made, not born. They're not born, they're made. And we have been we have a lot of people in this country who have been working hard, aiming high, and they pursue the American dream.
Absolutely. And Frank, again, you are touching something near and dear to me, education.
Yeah.
And I want to make another reflection here. And this goes out to you, my people, my listening audience of people of distinction with Al Cole. When Frank talks about education, well, I've been blessed to have served on education committees of the United Way and also of the Urban League. And I know in my engagement that way, and also on individual SIT teams, school improvement teams, that often there is not enough parental encouragement, there's not enough parental participation within our groups. Parents can make the big difference in a child.
No question about it. It has to
That's
start.
right.
Yes, it has to start from home.
Yes, absolutely.
And I would say that we need to make sure that the United States, in the United States, we can plant the seeds for others in the future in terms of education. And the most important form is that accomplishment that we can accomplish in any in the United States is through education, to educating our children.
Mm-hmm.
A quality education can be a great, I say, powerful equalizer. It's an opportunity creator. And for those other people who are those who are socially and economically disadvantaged, those who are less fortunate, and those who are underprivileged, I believe if we provide them a quality education, we empower them with education and economic mobility, they can do the wonders. They can change the landscape, not only America, of the world. When they succeed, all of us succeed, and the world succeeds.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, I also found through sitting on education committees, I was invited to speak to many, many younger people in high schools and middle schools, even grammar schools.
And we need to improve on that. Yeah, you're right. We need to improve the dropout. We have a very significant high school and colleges these days, especially the people who are socially economically disadvantaged.
Mm-hmm. You know, the younger people can be engaged too. The
Yeah.
parental, we have something called the PTA, the Parent Teachers Association. Now, I would love that expanded to the Parent Teachers Children Association.
Very well said. Very well
Hey,
said.
get the kids involved, because once you start to talk to the kids and you ask them, hey, what's on your mind here? What do you love? What do you love about your lives? They come up with astounding answers. They are human beings. And now, if we as parents engage our own children and say, boy, you know, tell me what's on your mind. Tell me about some of the things that are important to you. Guess what? There's going to be that dialogue, that communication, and they're not going to be going out in the streets to get other friends to validate what they're doing, and these friends don't know any more than they do about life directions. They will get their life directions from the adult world, because now we are communicating. We are bringing them into the fold, and we're saying, we care about you. We want to know what you think. Whoa, once we start doing that, that dialogue now encourages young minds to say, I can speak. I can communicate. These older adults want me to. They care about what I'm doing. If we start to engage that, hey, we are there. How do we engage that with younger people, Frank?
It has to come from our parents.
Yes.
It has to come from pre-K education. That's what forms the basis. And they must understand that education is the gift that keeps on giving. And education, as President Obama said, will be the currency of the 21st century. Education creates wealth, builds prosperity, it propels the individuals, it moves the nation forward. So they need to understand without education they cannot get ahead, they cannot realize the American dream, they cannot be part of the social, economic, political fabric of this nation, because they got to get a job. In order for them to get a job, they have to have education, and so that they become part of the workforce, so that they can be part of the American dream, so they can put food on the table and have a roof on their head. And then when they are successful, they will make other people successful, and that will become that investment more sustaining.
Absolutely. We're talking to a great guy here, Frank Islam, on People of Distinction with Al Cole. And boy, I'll tell you, you've been listening to the whole show so far, you know that this guy has accomplished a lot in his life. He was formerly the head of QSS Group, which he started in 1994 as its only employee, sold it in 2007. Sales of $300 million, 2,000 employees. Whoa, what an accomplishment. Currently, he's the CEO of the FI Investment Group, and he's written 2 books. We were running them down, Working the Pivot Points to Make America Work Again. Also, another great book here, Renewing the American Dream, A Citizen's Guide for Restoring Our Competitive Advantage. And we're still going to be talking about more here on People of Distinction with Al Cole. Run to this website and investigate the great world that is Frank Islam. Go to frankislam.com, www.frankislam.com. We have some minutes left in the show, and another thing I want to get to, Frank, as an extension of education. Education is the thing that keeps going on and on and on, even after we get out of school. You are on the board of trustees of the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. You were actually appointed by President Obama to that position.
Yes.
Very prestigious.
Yes.
And many of our younger people choose that avenue of expression into the performing arts. Tell us about some of the things that you can foster in children and younger people to help them make a mark for themselves in the performing arts, Frank.
So, art transcends all boundaries. It connects all of us, connects our communities, inspires all of us. I see the art and science both are very much linked rather than in opposition to each other. Artists and scientists both employ creativity in the process of development and discovery. So, a good example will be about the connection between these two is Leonardo da Vinci, a scientist and an artist. Was Albert Einstein a scientist and an artist? So I would say yes and yes for both, right?
Mm-hmm.
I cannot imagine the world as it is today without the advances that we have gained from the science. I cannot also imagine the world as it is today without the insight that we have been brought by the art. Even though I was educated in the scientific domain, I was always reared with appreciation of the arts. As President Kennedy once said, art nourishes the roots of our culture.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
They help us grasp and grapple. They address the past, the present, and the future. The art and artists express the ideas in ways that help us to see and understand ourselves, each other, and around the world around us. And I serve on several part of the Kennedy Center's Board of Trustees. The most important thing that I am a part of this educational committee at the John F. Kennedy Center for Performing Arts. An education committee, their job is to make sure that we can educate our young children in arts, because that to me laid the firm foundation for them to become an artist and also to make sure they can make a positive impact, influence, and a difference in people's lives.
You know, I'm going to mention something too at this point, Frank, that I know you're going to be able to relate to. I had a great lady on many times on my show, Carol Channing.
Oh yes, I know Carol. Well, I heard of her. Obviously she is she's the best. And this year an honor sees another Carol. Carol King is one of the honorees this time.
How do you like that? Look at that, from Carol to Carol. We love that.
Carol, you're absolutely right. She's wonderful.
And you know, with Carol Channing, when she was on, she's been on several times, and I even had the real honor to have. I was invited to her home when I was out in Southern California. She lives in Palm Springs. She and her husband then, Harry Collegian. Now, they were in their 90s. And they were still getting bills passed in Congress to bring the arts back into the public school system. That's how much Carol knew the arts are needed, and Harry as well, right by her side. And they were childhood sweethearts, like maybe 12, 13 years old. And then they went their own ways, and then they met each other again in their 80s, and they got married. Life ain't over till it's over, and Carol is a great example of that. Getting the arts back into the public school system. Now, the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts is one thing, but the everyday kid out there who loves art, who is inspired by his or her own creative abilities, sometimes they don't have any place to go in the public school system. How do we get the arts back into the public school system on a real and active basis, Frank?
First of all, it has to come from the school as well as from the parents, to make sure that we have art as one of those part of the curriculum, part of the what I consider the courses they can take. But the way we do in our education in committee for the John F. Kennedy Center for Performing Art, first of all, we encourage the students to participate and be active participant in the art. And the most important thing we do also, we fund from the Kennedy Centers some of the schools where the students can learn these skills and acquire these skills to be an artist. We also, and the education department also funds several things in that area as well. So there's a lot of possibilities and a lot of opportunities for the young kids to become familiar and also to learn the art, which plays, as I said, which connects all of us, inspires all of us.
And
those are the things we're doing.
That's right. And when kids
we have not done enough, obviously. We need to do a lot more.
Yeah.
And that's the work in progress.
And one of the big notes here is that when kids get on board with their artistic abilities, they're not thinking about violence. They're not thinking about hurting anybody.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
See, it's so important from that point of view.
Some of the kids are pretty good.
Yes.
They're
absolutely.
Great. And I have been privileged. Some of the socioeconomic kids that we have in John F. Kennedy Center Performing Art, they are the best. And when you give them the opportunity, they will do wonders.
Yeah, yeah, we love that. And we're really enjoying the interview here. People of Distinction with Al Coe, Frank Islam, special guest, and go to the website, investigate everything that he's been doing, and support him in his efforts here and his great directions. FrankIslam.com. Frank, we're running down the minutes here. We have a few minutes left. I want to take it out with two things. The second of which will be some possibility thinking. Whoa. But the first thing is I want to give you a chance to expand on anything else that you're doing that you want our listeners to be aware of. Tell us some other things.
I wanted to talk about two items. I think you mentioned about my faith, correct?
Yep.
So I'm a Muslim who grew up in India. The dominant religion sect is Hindu. Having said that, I believe the strong religions can and should bring us together rather than tear us apart. So let me just go back to the word of President John F. Kennedy again. That he said, the family of a man is not limited to a single race or religion, to a single city or a country. The family of man is nearly 3 billion strong. Most of the members are not white. Most of them are not Christians. He went on to say the members of the family should be at peace with one another. So, as we look what is going on in the world today, I believe we here in America should take those words of Kennedy at heart. We should do so not by looking to the heavens and to the gods whom we worship, but by looking at the earth and the people and the family that we are in the United States. I would remiss if I didn't speak about the radical extremist terrorist group called ISIS, who claim to be the Muslim. Islam faith always stood for equality, dignity, tolerance, and respect for other faiths. This group does not speak for for my faith or for any Muslim that I know. They have hijacked a religion in an attempt to wage what Pope Francis has called the Third World War. They must be destroyed in that war in the interest of religion, spirituality, and all of humanity.
You know, that's well put. I'll add my 2 cents to that, too. People, when we are so much truth in what Frank just said, when we look upon our world, we see diversity. We see all different types of people living in many, many different ways, faith-wise and financially and politically. One thing that we have in common, we all have a heart. We all have a soul. We all have the ability to communicate our heart and soul to each other, and we do that within our family structures. Everybody on this planet came from a family, if only their mother, but they had a father preceding them too. They come from a love unit, and if we can remember that, everybody on the planet has been loved at least once in their life. Everybody on the planet has loved at least once in their
Very
life.
well said.
Yes.
Very well said. I also want to comment about the immigrant. United States has always been and continues to be a nation of immigrant diversity.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
That's right.
Due to the influx of illegal immigrants from Mexico before the Great Recession, the bombing of the World Trade Center 9/11, and the most recent attacks around the world by ISIS, parts of America have begun to turn inward to reject diversity rather than to celebrate and embrace it. I see this diversity as one of the greatest strengths of this great nation. We as an American will recognize that the United States is a great country created by the courageous act of law of a few early on, but built by the courageous acts of many in all races, colors, and creed. Yes, could not be imagined anywhere else in the world. It is a peculiar and particular to this nation of immigrants.
And I love that message so much, Frank, that I want to end the program with some possibility thinking, where we realize that every group on this planet has something to say about the greatness of our human family.
Yes.
The Muslims, the Christians, Buddhists, Jewish people, every single sector of our society can contribute. And I'm going to pose a question to you right now in the way of possibility thinking. If at some point in our lifetime, or maybe even after we leave this planet, with the people who take over, let's say that at a certain point we are living in brotherhood, we are understanding diversity and inclusion for everybody on the planet, we are actually reaching out to the heart and soul of each other as if we were family members coming from that same nuclear family. We look at somebody else and we say, I know you. You're a human being just like I am, and because of that, you have basic rights that I respect, that I love, and that I want you to lavish into the best of your potential. When we get to that point where we're reaching out to each other as a human family, what is going to be the difference between that world and this one that we're experiencing with a lot of strife? What will be the essential differences in our lifestyles, in our families, and maybe even in the way that we do business together? Big question there. It's another book that you can write. But
yes.
in a couple of minutes, just lay it down inspirationally.
I think that what's important over here that we do not give people opportunity to succeed. We do not exploit the fullest potential. We do not give the opportunity to be the best they can be. They all can contribute, or will contribute, should contribute. They're all in this together. We have a shared goal, shared responsibility, and shared sacrifices.
Absolutely. And share is the term. And I'm going to take it out with an expansion too on the great words of Frank Islam. We have a phrase, people, called "be the very best that we can be."
Yes.
And I believe that. I believe that every single human being should be the very best that they can be. And you know what? As they're being the very best that they can be the very best that somebody else can be.
Yes.
Some people would say, well, what do you mean by that, Al? Be the very best that somebody else can be. What does that mean? I'm going to tell you what it means. If we look at the one that we love, if we call that person our wife, if we call that person our husband, we want the best for that person. We love that person so much that sometimes we'll put our interests behind their interests. We'll put their interests first, and we'll say, I want you to be the very best that you can be. In fact, I'm going to help you to be that. I'm going to help you be the very best you can be because I love you, and also within that love communication of us, we are going to be the very best that each other can be. She, if we're the guy, he, if we're the woman, we're helping each other to be the very best that we can be. It's a partnership. It's a synergy. It's a communication through love. We want the same for our children. Well, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to say, I'm going to put myself in the position of loving our human family that way too, and I want the very best that our human family can be, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to help out in that area. And people, if you can't help out by, going on the scene someplace to help somebody, if you don't have any money that you can contribute, if you can't get in the groups to help people out, don't worry about that. You have your consciousness, just like we said at the beginning of the show. You have a way of that inner sanctum, taking that time, that alone time with yourself, and you can say a prayer for somebody. You can say, I don't know you out there, but I love you because you're a member of the human family, and I'm going to help you just with a prayer right now. And put it on your visibility screen, on your consciousness, in the inside, that other people matter in this world. Other people outside of your own reference frame of life. These people matter, people that you've never seen before, you've never maybe even heard of before in other countries. Maybe it's the guy down the street that you never see. These people matter because they also have a heart. They have a soul, and you can connect to that heart and soul, have the courage to connect to that heart and soul within your own heart and soul. Invite them in, dialogue, and say, I like you. I don't know you, but boy, I want to get to know you better. And in that dialogue, it's really you dialoguing with you in what you perceive to be the other guy or the other woman. They will tell you some of the secrets because we live in an energy world and we are connecting to the human energy around us. We can't help but win. And that is what People of Distinction is really about, reaching out to the benefit of other people in our human family, and that will reach out to the benefit of us too. And I've got to thank Frank for establishing that in my mind right now for me to make that reflection. Frank, we all love the work that you're doing. We love the human being that we're hearing right now. And one more time, I want you to run to this website and support Frank Islam and his great work.
Thank you very, very much, Al, and thank you all the hard work you're doing, and thank you for your service to our country. You have made a difference. You should continue to make a difference, and we are very thankful for what you do for our country.
Thank you so much, Frank. This has really been a pleasure, and you have an open ticket to People of Distinction. Anytime you want to be a guest again,
I will do that.
Thank you. This has been marvelous.
By the way, you did an excellent job. Thank you very much for taking the golden nuggets out of my interview and kind of.
So until next time, people, wish you peace, awareness, romance, and mostly love.